Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and I got some stuff to talk about. So anyway, the thing that happens, this has been a very roast-centric night. I went to the grocery store and I got some roast beef, and I'm not trying to do a Seinfeld routine here, but is the primary requirement for working at a deli that you never know who's next? Like, it's so frustrating. You just stand there, you go, oh, I'm the only person waiting. They're going to turn around and it's going to be me. And then someone will walk up 2 minutes after you, and then the guy turns around, who's next? So anyway, I went to the comic book shop, excuse me. Yeah, that's not getting edited out. I went to the comic book shop, and it was good. It was good for a couple of reasons. So the last couple of weeks have been kind of bland. There's been some books that are good, but not great, but not terrible. And it's always better for a video when a book is really, really good or really, really bad. And the other one that makes for a good video is when the book or the writer used to be bad and suddenly they got better. So, plot twist, although it's in the title, Sina Grace got a lot better. Now, that is still a problem, and we will discuss it. So anyway, this is ICEMAN 3 of 12? I don't know. So for people who are coming in late, ICEMAN had a series. It had I don't know, 9, 10, 11. I remember it was like a weird number to end on. It was like 11. And it ended because it was terrible. It was ICEMAN, who had traditionally been straight, was suddenly gay, pretty much without any real explanation. One of the things that kills me is that superheroes are really, really good for doing allegories. Like, they're drawing Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, looking traditionally feminine. Now, which is something we've been asking for. But the thing is, for years they were making more and more masculine, to which people were legitimately confusing for a man when I would post pictures of her. But the thing is, it's comics, so you can do that. She has Kree DNA. You know, you could just say the Kree DNA was slowly turning her into a man, and then you could do stories about that, and then you could tie it into transgender people in real life, and it would be it could be rich if you worked it out correctly. So Bobby was always presented. I talk about, he basically was Dave Coulier from Full House. He was a jokey average man, but he was part of the family. So then he was changed into effectively Jack from Will and Grace, specifically the 1990s episodes of it. And it was just weird because this is the Marvel Universe. It's the X-Men franchise. If you want a sudden revelation of hidden traits, that he was gay secretly all along, and for him to have a very different personality, you could literally solve this with one sentence. You could have him say, I still can't believe that Professor X, locked away my true sexuality and personality because he was afraid that people couldn't handle it. He did this whatever. And then in the early 90s, when he was like 15 or so, you just do it like that. But one of the things we were expected to say that a character who was never gay before was suddenly gay, not bi, but gay, and that he had a completely different personality. And the problem with the personality is, as Mem Headroom says, because I said you can't define comic skate in one sentence. He goes, yeah, comic skate is against unappealing characters. And I was like, oh, that really is it. And the Iceman was, the Sina Grace version was shallow. He was self-centered. He was lazy. They keep bringing up that he's a teacher, but we've seen that he's a very lazy teacher. But it was just mainly shallow and selfish and horribly unfunny. But he didn't have admirable qualities. One of the things they always do in superhero genre is you have the hero lose his powers. Spider-Man 2, the movie from Tobey Maguire. He loses his powers. He still runs into a burning building to help people. They did this like every 12th episode of Smallville. The point is that this is a good person not because they have heroes, not because they're strong, they have muscles, but because it's just something innately in them. You want someone you can admire, even if they have tons of flaws. Even anti-heroes like Eddie Brock in the movie. One of the things I keep tripping out, I know I'm 5 minutes and I haven't opened a comic. I keep tripping out about in the Venom movie is like in the first 15 minutes, they have him do two things that movie characters really don't do. They have him steal private information from his girlfriend's computer, which gets her fired. And then later he sees a friend of his getting robbed and he just hides. He just hides in between two shelves. And then he just kind of walks out hang dog like he's embarrassed he didn't do anything. But, as a guy with a gun, he was just a regular guy. But they usually don't do that. But he still did have admirable qualities even from the beginning. He showed he was very, very kind to the homeless woman. I mean, he was broke as a joke, and he still gave her $20 for a free paper. And he was very concerned about her and was really upset when he saw her, being experimented upon. So then someone else, and I'm sorry I'm blanking on her name, she said, Comicsgate equals better comics, please. And that's it. It's not necessarily Sina Grace needs to go away forever. It's like, Sina Grace, can we have better comics, please? Can Bobby Drake, this version, which I effectively consider to be a new character, if you're going to continue with this take, can he be more appealing? And we get that. So we start off with a cover of the worst executed selfie in the history of selfies. So we got Bobby, and he's taking a selfie, which we'll just let that one slide. But he's pointing it in a way that's going to catch the side of his face, a little bit of this traffic light pole. It will not actually catch her, and maybe one of Spider-Man's fingers in the top of his head. For being so self-centered and superficial, you'd think your selfie game would be a lot better. So anyway, basically they says, he's got so many things in his life, but now he's got a date. So this is where it's evidence of, like me and Min had drum, and I think just some guy who says, Sina Grace has never been like a complete fraud. He can make, a fun action scene. He can actually do really good characters that aren't Bobby Drake, but Bobby Drake is always insufferable. Now, you can have a character that is insufferable, but you kind of have to point it out. And the whole point of the story, which should be about him having some growth. It's just been Bobby's first gay everything. So he's on a date with this guy named Carlos, and they're going out to, so this is just OCD. It's not really a problem, but it's a huge problem. So in Amazing Spider-Man, Peter and MJ went to a food festival called Smorgasburg in Brooklyn. It's a play on Williamsburg and Smorgasbord, because I think it's actually called Smorgasbord. And these things they've always been around, but they've been a lot more popular. They happen all the time, and some of them can be huge. So now they're at one called Streetcar Named Desire. That's fine. I'll allow that one. But Peter and MJ are there. The thing is that like 2 weeks ago, they were at the other one, and I just felt like it would have been married up together better if there would have been, 'cause they used to do this type of thing all the time in Marvel Comics. They would be like, oh, hey, I remember where they're there. Oh, I remember him saying that they had a crazy day, but this is the earlier part of the day. So basically, I forgot to talk about this. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friend was a cartoon in the early 80s, 1980s. And it was really, really good. And it was probably an entire generation's, which I think Sina Grace, he's younger than me. I think he's late 30s or so. He would have been old enough to catch like the last couple years he was on. If I remember correctly, they did like 2 full seasons and then maybe like 1 season of like 6 new episodes. But then it was on the air for like forever. Like half my childhood, I remember it being on the air. And I really loved it, but I really found it frustrating 2 things. Number one, that there weren't a lot of episodes and they just repeated them forever. Number 2, I'm never going to stop being angry about this. They had this episode with Swarm that I hated. And they repeated it way more than it should have been. I'd swear like every 7 weeks they were showing the episode with Swarm, and I always hated that one. But they were college students, and they had this lab created by Tony Stark. They would meet all the other Marvel characters. It was kind of the first good cartoon that where you met like a lot of the Marvel characters. Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. I think Daredevil was in one scene, but he was just as Matt Murdock. And the X-Men were there. That was a good one. And they had this little dog named Ms. Lion. It was cool. It was good. I'm not sure how and why they're called Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Friends in the 616 in the main Marvel universe. Jeez, 1026. So let's get into it. So all three of them are on dates. MJ's is going great. MJ and Peter. Angelica Jones. I know she looks a lot like MJ, but she's a different character. Firestar. She's on a date with this. Is this oh God, what's his name? He just got in the beef with Eminem. Oh God, Machine Gun Kelly. So this Machine Gun Kelly looking guy. And then Bobby was on a date with Carlos, which his seemed to be going pretty good. So the problem is this. It's a good entrance for, hey, we're on a date. It's regular times. Oh, crazy superhero stuff is coming in. I love how it's like iced up arms and you see that. And then even like iced up bits stopping, the shrapnel. I don't know what this is catching right here. I think that was supposed to be like a hubcap. Anything. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You were a third of the way into the you wrap it up. This should have been like 3 or 4 pages, and then you get into the superhero stuff. So we get into this ice golem, and this is Ryan Stegman art. It's really, really good. I would say the banter is pretty weak. This is a crucial thing. So his date starts taking selfies. He's like, "You both are looking awesome," and that bothered me because everyone's running away, and this isn't necessarily bravery as it is like it's insipid. These people are essentially super cops. They need to concentrate on fighting this monster just so he doesn't kill these people. All you are is a distraction, a possible hostage, a possible victim. So it's like, have some maturity and, don't be like, selfie time. So Spider-Man saves him. They get the band back together. We get a pretty good fight sequence. I'm going to call shenanigans on a couple things. By the way, this is a reference right there. That's a reference. In the intro, and the little song at the beginning of The Amazing Spider-Man, at one point he swings straight to the camera in this kind of odd way of swinging that he doesn't really do a lot. So my middle-aged boomer heart, I got excited when I saw it. I was like, it's the thing. So one thing I'm going to call shenanigans. So one thing is that this ice golem, it's not, actually it's not ice golem because he's got someone in. There's like some tech in the mouth, and they ended up commenting on it later, except for you can barely see it. The other problem is, if you see from this fight, the monster is the same size in a lot of the panels. You need to have a close-up. It should have been, this intro is pretty good, but then the next one should have been like a close-up of him screaming and then him throwing it right there. So you would have seen the little mechanism on his mouth, whatever it is. So they get in a fight. I just don't think Sina Grace's sense of humor is funny. In fact, I find it annoying. But it got less annoying when I started seeing what we've always wanted, is Bobby to be admirable, to not be a complete joke and a clown all the time. And so basically they defeat the monster, which has, and it's kind of complicated. He knows this guy. I like when they meet up. Like, I like this part when they were like, I don't know, what do you call them, shaking hands, because just the body language of this, this guy's all discombobulated. He's been messed with by Mr. Sinister. And you can see Bobby has like empathy, and he's like, oh, I know this guy. And he's like, hey, what's going on? And the cops are arresting him. He's like, you don't understand. Like, he's being controlled. And so then the Carlos at the end, so he's like, so you see, look at that expression on Bobby, like he's affected emotionally. He's like, what's going on? What just happened? And then the date is just like, stay posed just like that. You look truly heroic with the sun hitting your eyes. He's like, are you kidding me? He goes, what? Oh, did you want me to tag you on social? And he basically just breaks up with him, and he says, like, right here, he goes, she's like, Angela got dumped, but he ended up dumping Carlos, and he's like, it's never okay to jump into the fray for a selfie. Civilians don't get it. Basically, he's saying like, no, that wasn't cool what you did, and I was like that hit me right there. It's like, okay, again, this is bothering me. These characters at the same side. You're supposed to vary up to like close up, far away, angles. Don't do this. Don't have the characters be like the same size in 2 panels. It showed some seriousness to him. It shows him he takes his superhero game seriously, and it bothers him that someone would be so flippant. So then we get back to jokes. I'll just give an example. Like, to me, they're terrible. It's like Peter's like, and it just kind of goes on. He goes, "We've got it harder than anybody. How can we build relationships of trust when secrets are our business? And who'd want to be +1 to this lifestyle?" So, okay, so right there, that was actually fine. This is where it loses it and it just becomes generic Sina Grace sense of humor that he gives to everyone. So then he does like a quote, like he's doing a voice. He's like, "Sorry I'm late, and for hobgoblin burning your dress, here's babka that's been boiling in a web knapsack for 2 hours." It's like, you don't need a joke on every page. You actually had like a good human moment where they're basically, commiserating about, the realities of being a superhero and having a secret identity. And then he just goes in for like some more. Speaking of, here, take the train to Churroboro. I've already lodged a petition to get Queens renamed. Okay. So it ends. Oh, so how do I do this? I get a copyright strike if I show everything, but I've already shown most of it. So I'll just show. Rip this thing off. That screwed everything up. Look away. And they cover half the page. So basically, something happens, and Bobby's all determined, and he basically says, "I'm gonna break him out." And look at the expression on his face. He's determined. He looks like a hero. He looks like he's about to get the job done. Like, that's cool. Do it. Bacardi and Coke. Sina Grace, do it. So, Sina Grace, you're doing good. You're doing a lot better. So either you're listening to us, or by an incredible coincidence, you're doing everything we want without having heard us say it. I'll give 50-50 on each one of those. But good job. Good job. He's actually saying, he's like, so they're asking a question. They're like, are you planning on doing better? He's like, yeah, I'd actually plan on that in issue 3 of the 2nd series. And he's like, yeah, he totally talked about that yesterday at lunch. He clearly said, issue 3 of the 2nd series, he was really, I was going to start doing a lot better. And then they're like, hey, so this is, they put on berets, so they're pretending to be like special forces guy. He's like, psst. He goes, what's the code word? The code word is banana cream pie. He's like, okay, so here's the secret. I'm going to start writing a lot better in the 2nd series in issue 3. And you're the artist. He's like, yeah, I'm going to draw people the same size a lot. He goes, I don't understand why. He goes, no, it'll be cool. Nobody will notice. No, but yeah, well, what about me? I noticed there, Mr. Ryan Stegman. Wow. So anyway, good job. Sina Grace, Ryan Stegman, good job. Room for improvement as everything. Except for this fan. Like, they really perfected fan tech. You spend $12, you leave it on for 4 years, and then it barely uses any electricity, and the motor never burns out. I usually just throw it away when it gets too much dust on the blades. But anyway, good job. This is what I want. That was it. Just, some humanity, some seriousness. We actually admire him. Some determination, some grit. And not everything has to be a joke or a pop culture references, although they're fine. Work on the humor. Not the best in the world, but anyway, good job. So thanks for watching. Subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. Thanks to everyone giving to the Patreon, GoFundMe, and the Indiegogo. And I'll have more new comic reviews up tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.